All right, so Josh is talking here about looking to get packet capture on switching infrastructure without hitting the CPU. I don't know if we can do this, without hitting the CPU at all, but whether or not it'll do what he wants, I also haven't done. I believe it can be done. So let's go check it out. All right, today we're going to test out packet capturing on both a FortiSwitch locally and also to a FortiSwitch through RSpan up into a FortiGate. This first one will be looking at it through just the FortiSwitch itself directly on there. So I'm in the FortiSwitch, in System and Packet Capture. I'm going to add a packet capture here. We'll just call this test for Josh 3. I've been doing a few tests and I don't want to have to redo that. We'll go to port 1 where I've got my device plugged in. A couple of filter options, but since I've just have this one host on there, I'm not too worried about it. We'll hit add, and then I'm going to hit play, and that'll start recording the capture. Right after I hit play, I'm going to go and ping 8.8.8.8, and we'll see what we see. All right, so we have completed that ping test. We're only halfway through the limit here, but I'm just going to hit pause, and then we're going to download this PCAP. So if I go in here and we go check for ICMP, I will see all of those echo requests in here. He was also referring to whether or not we'd see the ARP packets. We can also see the ARP packets, so we are seeing everything. I know one of the questions he had was around how much this is gonna ding your CPU. And I mean, this has been sitting at 6%, 9%. Obviously, this is not production environment. This is a lab. So I don't know what the difference would be in an actual production environment. You definitely have to test that out yourself. But you have the capability right in here. And also, this is a 1000 series switch. So this is one of the beefier FortiSwitches out there. So this was the other thing that I was looking at, was just in general how to do ER span or RSpan off to the FortiGate from the FortiSwitch. That way you can just send it up there, get the full access. Now, the only reason I would see that this would be helpful is if that does create a load on the switch to actually process that data, which I wouldn't be surprised about that happening. The FortiGate's going to have a much better CPU for actually processing that data. So if we go inside of here, let's go review this real quick and then we'll implement it. All right, so we did finally get to figuring all this out. So what we're now going to look at is using RSpan and ERSpan from the FortiSwitch to send it off to the FortiGate so that we don't put load on the FortiSwitch, which is likely going to happen if you just run a PCAP on the FortiSwitch itself. Real high level, RSpan is going to be great if you're just in a FortiGate, FortiSwitch environment. You got layer 2 connectivity, no real issues there. ERSpan is going to be a bit more flexible. So that's going to allow you to do things over layer 3. It'll encapsulate it in GRE. And we'll see the difference between those two different modes. Right now, I believe I still have this set up in ERSpan, but let's go check it out. All right, so if we look at this right now, we do have this still set up in ERSpan. How I've got this configured right now is to say set ERSpan IP to the IP address of my RSpan VLAN that's built into the FortiGate automatically. I've changed all my IPs, so your IP may be different or lacking an IP. I honestly can't remember if I set this and there was no IP to begin with. I believe there is though, so double check what that IP address is and also make sure that traffic can reach that VLAN. The next thing we're going to do is to config target port. Then we're going to edit into the switch that we have, and we'll set the in port and the out port to the both port 1, just because I want to see what's going in and out of that port. So now if we go over into network diagnostics, we'll go to a packet capture. We'll start a new packet capture. We're going to say we want to see information that is hitting our RSpan VLAN. By default, it's just going to be called RSpan route. You can change that around if you want. We're going to turn on a filter for this, and I'm going to say include non-IP packets, just so that we get a bit more information going on. We could filter this down to help really specify what we're looking for. But since I know that this is connected to one single host, I'm not going to set that today, but that could be helpful for you. So we're going to start capture now. And I've got a continuous ping running on this guy. But look at that. All we see is a bunch of information coming from 10.2.80.3 to 10.2.80.1, other than some OSPF information that's occasionally thrown out there. If I click into that, we'll just see it's running protocol 47, which if you were looking that up, you would see that that's going to be, GRE. Packet data is just going to be what it is, but let's just hit stop capture right now. So again, can't really see what's going on here, but let's just save this as a PCAP, and then we'll open it in Wireshark. So here we are in Wireshark, and we can actually see all the data. So this will actually open up that GRE packet, and we'll be able to see what's going on. So one extra step, but likely if you're doing this, you probably do want to open this in something like Wireshark. So that will be a little bit helpful to be able to see all of this. So for me, I'm just really looking at ICMP pings, but we can basically see all the traffic going on here, layer 2 and layer 3. All right, so let's go and reset this and make, I think, 2 changes to set this as capture for RSPAN. We'll hit close, and then if I click on here, we'll just delete file and settings. So let's go back over into here. We're back in our traffic sniffer, and all we're going to do to change it from ERSPAN over to RSPAN is we're going to set mode RSPAN. I hit show. We'll see that everything else pretty much stays the same. The only thing that really changes here is that the IP address is gone. So what this is going to do is it's going to put it on the default RSPAN VLAN, which is the same exact thing we were already sending it to in ERSPAN. But we're using layer 2 technology instead of layer 3 technology. That's where ERSPAN comes into play. So we'll hit end there, and let's go back over. We'll do a new packet capture, but we're going to configure this the exact same way. Again, if you were sending this to a different interface on the FortiGate, you could do that. Or if in ERSPAN, you could also send this to a specific server that was running something like Wireshark. Again, we will include non-IP packets, and we're going to start capturing this. And right away, we can already start seeing the actual ICMP messages. We're going to see that full packet information going on here. So we're going to see a lot more initially. So if you're wanting to see this without ever opening up Wireshark and exporting this and having to dig through it, this is going to be a better solution, but you do have to have that layer 2 connectivity, have that RSPAN VLAN already set up and created. So again, really great if you are already inside of a Fortinet environment with a FortiGate and a bunch of FortiSwitches utilizing FortiLink. So let's go and stop this capture. And like I said, we can dig into this data. I can even start filtering this just like I would with any other, Fortinet data that I might want to go and change the different things in here. We can apply that. We can drag things around. It's very much like your Fortinet interface. So if you're very familiar with Fortinet, but you're not so familiar with Wireshark, this may actually be a better solution for you. If you want to dig into it in Wireshark, just because you already have things built out in there, we can still save this as a PCAP and open this up. And again, we're going to see very similar data to what we saw last time. A lot of pings, different TCP retransmissions, stuff like that. So we're going to get plenty of information here to help us understand. And just to take care of turning this back off, all we're going to have to do is we will go back into the traffic sniffer. We're going to set mode, I believe it is just none. And there we go. We have, it's not turned on, but it is still configured. So if you already know what device you want to do, you could just set this to mode none, set up all the information, and then when you want to turn it on, you could just flip it into RSPAN or ERSPAN and set the IP. So there you go, Josh. Hope that helps. If anybody else has questions around this, happy to dig into it. I honestly had never done this before, so this was a really fun thing to try and figure out a certain use case and how to use these things. There's a lot of things that I just assume or have heard plenty of, but haven't done myself, and it's always helpful to have a great use case like what Josh was looking for.